So more now on Neymar. The only story in town really is the Brazilian heads from Barcelona to Paris Saint-Germain. La Liga expert Carlo Valladares joins me now. Good to have you with us this morning. I'm interested to know how this story is playing out in Spain. Can they believe it is actually happening?
Yes, Geoff, thanks for having me on, by the way. Yes, this is undoubtedly the transfer of the century and the talk of the town. In Catalonia, the feelings are that of betrayal. Most Barcelona fans feel as though Neymar has used Barcelona as pretty much as a stepping stone for more selfish personal ambitions. The Catalan media is pretty much painting this as Barcelona dropping the ball. It hurts their political image, and it's pretty obvious given the fact that they're scrambling now to find a replacement, that they did not have a what-if plan regarding Neymar.
Yeah, it's not often that people see Barcelona as a stepping stone because they are the biggest or one of the biggest clubs in the world.
Yes, it's rare. I mean, there have been players in the past, particularly in the 90s and the early 2000s with the Ronaldos and Maradonas were players. They kind of leave out the back door, and there's a lot of controversy surrounding it. But ever since the Guardiola era, it's been rare. I mean, of course, you have Ibrahimovic and Alexis Sanchez, but usually Barcelona they hold on to their key marquee players, generational talents like Messi, and of course Neymar is now being spoken of at that level.
It's subjective, I know, but is Neymar worth all this money, given what you've seen of him in La Liga?
Well, last season, the biggest flaw was obviously his goal scoring. He scored about, I think, 13 goals. He didn't have his best goal scoring boots on last season, but he did come up with 19 assists across all competitions, and he was La Liga's leading chance creator with 91, and even got ahead of Messi in that regard. So he's definitely a difference maker, and I think, of course, what comes to mind most last season is that comeback against Paris, where he undoubtedly shown himself on the world stage that when he plays a bit more selfishly, he can really, really make the big difference and potentially be that talent, that leader that can lead their team to a UCL title, which of course is what is the biggest reason. Also, the massive amount of money as for him going to Paris.
So they're going to need a creator to fill the gap, to help create chances for the likes of Messi and Suarez. Names that have been mentioned: Philippe Coutinho at Liverpool, Kylian Mbappe, the youngster who is getting a lot of headlines around the world. What do you think Barcelona should do? Which kind of player do you think that they need? And obviously they've got plenty of money to play around with.
Oh, yes. Last season, they lost a bit of midfield control. A lot of phases of their attack were not as fluid as years past. And I believe had Neymar stayed, I think Coutinho is that attacking midfielder that plays the Iniesta role, that left midfield role. And I think that was the right player had Neymar stayed. Now, with Neymar leaving, of course, Coutinho would be like a blockbuster signing. I don't know if it would please all the locals in Catalonia, but it would please a lot. However, given that Mbappe is a natural left-sided forward, that could be a huge way to try to convince Mbappe that he will get a large amount of minutes in his natural position, given that Neymar has left. So right now, Barcelona are reportedly trying to come up with a $100 million bid for Liverpool, given that Liverpool rejected their $72 million bid. So we shall see. But given that Neymar's left, I think this Mbappe side at Barcelona is just going to start picking up more traction in the coming days.
Let's talk about financial fair play. There was a statement from UEFA that said, "We've not received complaints from anyone regarding this matter. All clubs in Europe must respect financial fair play rules and must demonstrate that they do not have losses of more than 30 million euros over 3 years. As part of the continuous monitoring of clubs under FFP regulations, UEFA will look into the details of this transfer in due course to ensure PSG are compliant with financial fair play regulations." This seems to be a bigger topic in football these days, doesn't it?
Yes, financial fair play it started 7 years ago, and it's a way to manage the big clubs. And of course, Barcelona, apparently La Liga president Javier Tebas, he tried to, he said on air on the radio that he's going to file a complaint. Barcelona's wish is that they could have halted the transfer, but as we know, legally that is not possible. You can't stop the transfer. UEFA will likely go into an investigation, given that this is uncharted territory, given the large fee. So, but that's a process that will take a lot of lawyers, and Paris would have implemented that release clause with all this in mind, and I think they will likely go through one of the only loopholes through financial fair play is that they'll pay the transfer fee along the same length of Neymar's contract, which is 5 years, and 3 to 4 players, $50-60 million. They could definitely overcome financial fair play with that.
Money seems to be quite a topic in Spanish football. We've seen a number of players having certain issues with their tax affairs and what they're doing with image rights and that kind of thing. Is that kind of thing worse in Spain, do you think, than in other countries?
Oh, yes, there's a sense of it's a lot more business under the table. The culture in Spain is you see a lot more bribes. They're cracking down on it now, but there is a culture of what happens behind closed doors is fair play. And yes, there's a ton of controversy, and a lot of teams are now being under investigation by UEFA. So it's kind of ironic that Barcelona now trying to report Paris over this, but yes, Barcelona are also under a huge amount of controversy with taxes, and of course Ronaldo, and with Madrid with his recent court case. So yes, not as much controversy in terms of that in England. That's a big difference.
There's a little bit of it's just kind of interesting, really. Barcelona complaining about other clubs tapping up footballers, and Barca have been sort of quite guilty of that themselves over the years. Listen, we're out of time. We'll speak again soon. Thanks, Carlo. That's La Liga expert Carlo Valladares with us on Early Breakfast.